And now, let us move to the elements and compounds. Okay? We already know what are the three states of matter. A matter, it is an everything or anything that occupies space and that has a mass. Okay? So all those things around us, either solid object, liquid object, or gaseous object that occupies now in our place or within our surroundings. The word elements and compounds. But before that, what is the difference between atoms and molecules? What's the difference between the two? Between atoms and molecules, considering that they are present in different states of matter. So atom is a building block of matter. Okay? Molecules are the compositions of different groups of atom. Right? So, therefore, we were able to identify what elements and compounds are. First, we need to determine between solid, liquid, and gas, and how to identify the presence of atom and the presence of molecules. Okay? So therefore, in this component, what are the three kinds of matter? Solid, liquid, and gas. And because of that, we were able to produce different elements and compounds, and physically how to do mixtures. So in this example, as you can see, we have there the name iron. Iron is element or compound? Iron is an element or a compound? Okay, so iron is pure element. Chlorine is pure element. So what is an element? An element is a substance that contains one type of atom only. Do you remember, guys, during your preschool camp, you learned about the topic of elements in a periodic table, right? So, let's try to review those things. So, it says that only one type of atom. Means to say that element, okay, always presented in our modern periodic table by block. Okay? In our periodic chart, which was being arranged with our well-known scientist and chemist, okay, Dmitri Mendeleev. Okay, this helps us to be guided on how to read through each of the symbol of the element, okay, in easiest pattern. So therefore, it is always written in a periodic chart and always arranged according to physical properties of element, either metal, non-metal, and metalloids. You understand? So that is why elements are listed always in periodic table with listed, with its own designated block. Okay? So another one that we need to remember is a compound. Okay? So when can we say that it is a compound? Remember, a compound composed of two or more elements combined. So they are being combined in order to make chemical compounds. For example, calcium carbonate, carbon dioxide, water, all those are examples of compounds. Okay? So, they are being banned with other elements, okay, composing of different number of atoms. So, it's easier to do the hydrogen bonding or covalent and ionic bonding, right? So in a compound, just for example, a compound is a substance that contains two or more different types of atom, okay, which chemically bonded together. Remember this, okay? So, therefore, if you may wonder how steel are being produced. So the manufacturing company, when it comes to steel production, okay, in a factory, they are being formed through mixtures, two or more substances physically combined. So by joining sodium chloride solution and even the presence of alloy. Okay? So iron and alloy or aluminum joined together in order to produce a steel product. Then sodium chloride solutions. Okay? It is another product that we need to know. It is a mixture of sodium and chlorine. So, in other words, we can also produce rock salt for our kitchen use as ingredients. So, what is then a mixture? A mixture is a substance that contains two or more different substances, not chemically bonded together, but physically, they can join or combine, in order to produce a new substance. So mixtures can be separated by physical methods or physical separation technique. Example, filtration, distillation, chromatography. You understand? Now, all living and non-living of the different kinds of matter in the universe is made up of 100 different substances called elements. Elements are called the building blocks of matter because all matter is composed of elements. Each element is made up of the same type of atom. So remember guys, element is the simplest form of matter, the part of the building blocks of an atom. Okay? So therefore, we should know about periodic table. A periodic table organizes the element in a particular way. Okay? A great deal of information about element can be gathered from its position in a periodic table. So for example, you can predict with reasonable good accuracy physical and chemical properties of the element. You can also predict what other elements in particular element will react with chemically. So understanding the organization and plan of periodic table will help you to obtain basic information about each of 118 known elements in our periodic table. Right? So this is the base of our periodic table of elements. Okay? So therefore, again, a compound is a substance that's made of two or more different kinds of elements which chemically combine in a specific ratio. So when we talk about compound, again, it is a mixture or combination of two or more elements. So that is why we have water. So water, it is an example of compound because we combine hydrogen and oxygen. CO2, carbon dioxide. We combine carbon and oxygen. Sodium chloride, it is again a compound because we combine sodium and chlorine. Okay? So, there are many elements that we can combine in order to form different chemical compounds. No? And in that case, we were able to solve and balance the equations about those different combinations of compound. Alright? So, that could be. So each compound is represented by a formula that uses symbol and identify when elements are present. A formula shows the ratio of element in a compound. Example, H2O. So this representation, okay, number 2 represent as number of atoms. So 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen. So hydrogen is 2, then oxygen is 1. So that's why the ratio of atom is 2:1. So from the word H2, 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. That's why it's written with H2O. Next, let's talk about formula. Formula is a symbol that makes up the formula, which is just chemical shorthand for the compound. The subscript let us know how many atoms are present. Okay? So, compounds. When you say compound, this is a chemical reaction. What is then a molecule? Again, what is molecule? A molecule is formed when 2 or more atoms join together. In other words, in our simple understanding, molecules are coming from many group of atoms. Okay? So, atom is the smallest particle of matter, building blocks of matter. So, there is no molecule if there is no atom. Okay, because molecules are children. And the parent mainly is the atom. You understand? Okay. So, diatomic molecules are made of 2 atoms of the same element. So, when you talk about diatomic atoms, means to say that 2 atoms of hydrogen, for example, and 2 atoms of oxygen, for example. So that is why we call it as diatomic. Okay? Because we can bond this one, H, then bond with another H. Okay? We can bond also this one, oxygen bonding, hydrogen bonding. Okay? So, since there are 2 atoms in diatomic pattern, so once they join together, we can make 1 molecule of hydrogen, then 1 molecule also of hydrogen. So we can do the bonding with this one. Okay. So this is mainly the pattern on how to identify diatomic particles. So what is the difference between compound and molecule? The difference between the two, a molecule is a form when 2 or more atoms join together chemically. What about compound? I'll repeat, molecules in our simple understanding, okay, composed of many atoms. Okay, 2 or more atoms, that's molecules. Okay, so molecule act as children. Okay, so a compound is a molecule that contains at least two different elements, two or more elements. We cannot create compound without single element. So it should be more than two elements because we talk about combination or mixture with other elements. Okay, combining the properties of element like between metal and non-metallic elements or non-metallic elements and metalloid elements or noble gases. All compounds are molecules, but not all molecules are compounds. I'll repeat. All compounds are molecules, but not all molecules are compounds. Alright? So that's the difference between a compound and a molecule. So molecular hydrogen, molecular oxygen, molecular nitrogen, these are in the form of diatomic pattern of elements. So water like H2O, that's compound. Carbon dioxide, CO2, another compound. Methane, CH4, another compound. Compounds, these are composed. These compounds because it's made from more than one element. Okay? So in a molecule, the smallest bit of each of these substances would be referred to as a molecules. For example, a single molecule, a molecular hydrogen, is made from two atoms of hydrogen. Right? A single molecule of water is made from two atoms of hydrogen. That is why it's always written with H2. Then bind with one atom of oxygen. So it's written with H2O. Okay? So that number 2 represents always as atom. Then invisible one, you cannot see written 1, but that's represent as automatic number 1. Even though you cannot see number 1 in oxygen. Okay? Invisible 1. Alright? So a compound has properties different than the elements that make it up. So the parts of compounds are present in specific ratio. So, like for example, what is NaCl, guys? NaCl is a compound. It is a formula for salt. What is salt in Pasatay? Okay, so it is a salt, rock salt, iodized salt, refined salt, sea salt. Okay, so those are coming from the two elements between sodium and chlorine elements. So for water, that's H2O, an oxygen atom can bond with two hydrogen atoms to make a molecule referred as water. So that's the formula for water is H2O, meaning there are two hydrogen atoms for each oxygen atom. What about carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide molecules are made from one carbon and two oxygen atoms joined together by covalent bonding. So the chemical symbol of carbon dioxide is CO2. Okay, so that's the chemical symbol of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is element or compound? Carbon dioxide is element or compound? Okay, carbon dioxide is a compound. Why? Because it is mixed with a mixture of carbon and oxygen. So, what about oxygen only? Element or compound? Okay, hydrogen. Nitrogen. Okay, calcium. Sodium. Carbon. Okay, again, element. Alright, so always remember, a compound is a combination of two or more elements. So, means to say that always bonded with other elements. That's what we call compound. Alright? So, how about this? Can you name this one? Okay, glucose. Okay, this is another compound in which three elements involved. So what are the elements involved in this one? Okay, glucose, for example, sugar. No? So sugar is coming from plant base, no? Sugar cane or any fruits that can produce simple sugar. No? So what is number 6, 12, and 6 in there? In glucose. Huh? So we have 6 atoms of carbon, 12 atoms of hydrogen, 6 atoms of oxygen. So this is not diatomic particles already. This is not diatomic already. So therefore, now to determine what glucose is, composed of what carbon, what hydrogen and oxygen. So there are atoms, okay, 6 atoms of carbon, 12 atoms of hydrogen, 6 atoms of oxygen. So it's rated with C6H12 and O6. So that's mainly for the compound, no? When we call it glucose. Okay? Next one. So molecules and compound is broken down into its smallest pieces. It is called a molecule. You should be able to write the formula with the following example. What is the formula of water? H2O. How about oxygen? How to write oxygen? O2. How about carbon dioxide? CO2. Okay, so that's correct. Right? Alright, so examples in here. Examples of formulas for compounds and, of course, the names. Okay, everybody, please tell me, what is H2O? Water. C6H12O6. Glucose. C2H6O1. Alcohol. NaCl. C2H6O1. Ethanol. C2H4O2. Vinegar. NH3. Ammonia. C2H4O2. Acetic acid. H2SO4. Butane. Okay. H2SO4. Sulfuric acid. Okay. CH4. Methane. Okay. C12H22O11. Sucrose. Okay. C3H8. Propane. Okay. NaHCO3. Baking soda. Okay. Or sodium bicarbonate. N2O. Okay. Nitrogen oxide. C6H8O7. Citric acid. Okay. C8H18. Octane. Octane. C816O1. Okay. Camphor. Okay. Menthol camphor. Alright. So, do you guys know already what compounds are? Do you understand what is a compound? Combination of 2 or more elements comprising with different numbers of atoms in each element. So that's the difference between the formulas of the compound and how to name the compounds of those elements. Okay? So that could be all for this time.